everyone. Welcome to this new episode of Carolyn Talks. I'm your host, Carolyn Hayes, film critic and journalist, and this is the podcast / YouTube channel where I speak to film creatives around the world about their work, the industry, and what inspires them. And today, I am joined by actor Jake Choi to talk about his film Front Cover, which is having a special screening at this year's New York Asian Film Festival. So Front Cover was originally released in 2015, so we're in 2024. So this film is 9 years old. And I think it's actually great that I'm getting to speak to you, Jake, about the film almost 10 years after its release, because the world has changed so much and your career has changed so much. And I'm sure like the thoughts you had about the film during filming and then after release would have changed over time, because that's how life works. And I think it's always great to be able to look back on films and say, you know what, that was special. And then so I'm really excited to talk to Jake about that. And if you're not familiar, so Front Cover is it's a gay love story, but I think it's also a love story, not only about between the characters of Ryan, played by Jake, and Ning, played by James Chen. I think it's also about discovering cultural connection, not only with family and culture, but also with oneself. So I'm very excited to talk to Jake about that. So thank you so much for joining me, Jakey.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been so long since I think the last time I saw you in person was literally 2018 when I first went to LA. So yes, it's been a long time. And so they said the film was released originally in 2018. Talk to me about how you got the script for the film, which was written and directed by Ray Yeung. How did the script land in your lap, as you would say?
It landed in my digital lab through email. My reps at the time, they sent me the audition and I read the script, and I was so excited to be able to just audition for a leading role in a feature film, and a role that was very three-dimensional and fun and flawed. And the story literally starts and ends with Ryan, the character of Ryan. And at the time, I was bartending for a gay party that was every Saturday, and I went up to all my regulars and my co-bartenders who were gay and Asian, and I showed them my phone. And I go, "Hey, look, I have this audition. Isn't this cool?" And they would go, "Oh my God, Jake, you're gonna kill it. Let us know how it goes." But in the back of my mind, I didn't think it was possible for me to get it, because I knew that there would be so many actors vying for the role. But at the time, I was just excited to be able to audition for it, to get the chance to be in the running for it, right? And I did it and kind of forgot about it. And got a call back, and Ray actually was there at the callback. And then we had another callback for other actors to do a chemistry read with me. And then maybe a week later, I got it.
So I have to ask this because, for some people, they'll be like wondering, like, how could you do an audition and then forget about it? And I think it's because, like, as some people might not know, is like sometimes you can go weeks or even months between an audition and a callback. And like you have other things you're doing in that space of time. You're working, you're also auditioning. But for you, what after you did the audition, do you remember what your initial thought was after you did your audition?
I mean, it's been so long because this was over a decade ago. Oof.
That's not age, but yes.
Listen, my age is on the internet anyways. I can't.
I know, right?
But you know what? I remember thinking, I hope this is good enough. I put in so much work into the tape, into the audition, but you just never know, especially because, a lot of times actors don't get the job based on strictly the work of the tape or the merit. It's other factors, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I remember thinking, I hope it's good enough. And, we kind of sometimes do this thing where we audition and create this fantasy, like a fantasy future, like as if we got it and what it can do for us in this fictional future if we get it. So that's what I was doing. And also I think maybe I was thinking about definitely if I got it, the sex scene, kissing another man, that would be like on film. I think I did that already for class and maybe like a play I did before, but never on film. Uh,
Mm,
but yeah, but like you said, I had to also kind of jump to the next audition and
mm.
life. So I didn't really have a chance to think about it too much. Once I sent it over, on to the next.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most unique things about acting and the process of acting itself is like between audition and callbacks, there's so much that you have to do, like you kind of have to put this role that could be potentially like changing at the back of your mind. Whereas for like if you're doing like a regular job, say for instance, whether it's an administrative job, you're working in medicine, whatever, when you go for an interview, that's the thing that's always at the forefront of your mind, and even if you have another job, like that sticks there because you're just thinking, okay, like this could change my life and like I need this job, I need this job. And even for actors, yes, that is true, but you also have to like go for other auditions at the same time. And the
Mhm.
thing and the other auditions are for completely different characters with completely different actors and directors and writers. Whereas like if I'm going for a job, I'm going for a job within the same field. If I can go for like 10, 15 interviews, but they're always for the exact same job. Whereas acting is not like that. You have to like, and I think that's where the adaptability of actors comes in. It comes in even before you even step on stage, even before you
Mhm.
go on set. You have to be adaptable even in the way you process your role. So talk to me a bit about that process as an actor, because I don't think it's discussed often in the
Mhm.
media, like how being an actor doesn't only require taking on roles on screen and on set after you get it, but it requires taking on roles in the process of auditioning itself.
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, this doesn't get talked about enough, but me personally, I have been called a chameleon. I like to think of myself as a chameleon, and I don't have a specific niche or brand or type of role that I'm known for, like typecasting. And I find myself lucky, but sometimes people, for example, you take Jack Black. Jack Black is so specifically a unique type, and he does it so well, right? Jack Black. When you think Jack Black, the roles he plays, it's very Jack Black, and it's tailored to him, and he's so talented. But I think with me, I don't, I'm not that kind of actor. So I try to, yeah, when the roles are different, I really try to find uh, uh traits, quirks, behaviors that are very specific to that role or that kind of the person, and have fun with finding those little things. It's crafting. Crafting characters is very fun for me. But at the end of the day, you got to make them human
Mm.
and ask the same questions, right? What is it that they want and need? Uh, is what are they dealing with internally and externally? Um, and then from there, yeah, I might change. It can be something very small like voice cadence. It can be something like costume, jewelry, accessories, ticks, uh, hair. I like to play with everything, all of that.
Mm.
Um, because for me, when you audition for a character, for a role, you have to love the idea that you have, and it has to be a very specific idea, and you got to stand by it. You have to commit to it, or else you're going to present a very bland, basic character that the people that are watching will just be kind of bored by. And I think
Mm.
that's the worst when they're watching your tape and they can't wait to get it over the tape. Uh, and a big part of that is your choices, but also a big part of that is character. And there's a fine line between a caricature and a character. That's the adventure. The excitement for me is what's the fine line,
Mhm.
you know? And it really depends because sometimes the character you just have to play a hotshot lawyer in a big firm, and that's just who he is, right? And there's not much else you can really do. So now it comes to, history, character, relationship, and their internal demons and battles. But sometimes you can have a little more fun, maybe this guy is a circus performer, but also on the side he's a drug dealer, and he might use his own stuff, and you can have a little more fun preparing that character.
Mm-mm.
But at the end
But
of the day, what grounds them?
yeah, but even playing like a hotshot liar, there's still ways that you can make it yours specifically, like because there are specific types of characters like the hotshot lawyer is kind of a stereotype within itself. Yeah, and this is across the board, whether watching North American or Asian or European, there's productions, film or dramas. There is a way to stereotype even characters like that, where they're straight laced, perfect, like almost now that I'm thinking about it, I think a lot of the more modern stereotypes are kind of based on American Psycho. Now that I'm thinking about
American
it.
Psycho,
You know,
Christian Bale's character.
Christian Bale's character. Now I'm thinking about it. The thought is occurring. I think a lot of them are actually kind of like patterned after him, which is kind of weird, but that's the discussion. But I mean, like, but even when you have a character like that, you still got to make him your own, like find different ways to like, when people think of you, they think of the character and say, this is his particular quirk, and like, and I think that's one of the fun things, not only for you as an actor to play, but for me as an audience member as an audience to watch. I love figuring out what little quirks characters put into a character, actors put into a character to make them theirs. Like I think one of my favorite things is Han in the Fast and Furious franchise. Like he's always eating, and I just love that. I just love that one little aspect of that. I love the character, but like that's his thing. He's always eating, always has a snack in his hand or something, and I think that's like fun for him and for you. And when I was watching Front Cover, I was trying to figure out like what is his quirk, and I think for me, for the character Ryan, his quirk is sarcasm. He's very sarcastic, but not in a dismissive way and not in an insulting way. His sarcasm and his wit is how he relates to people and how he gets his inner thoughts out without people actually catching on that what his inner thoughts are. So talk to me about crafting Ryan. Like once you got the part, talk to me about crafting who you wanted Ryan to be for yourself, so that he wouldn't be the stereotypical Asian gay character. Because that is a stereotype in especially in North American films and shows. Like there's a very particular way that they're characterized. And so how did you make sure that he didn't become a caricature and remained a character?
Well, I had a lot of help from Ray. Ray gave me some DVDs and books to read, which helped me get into the time and place of when Ryan might have grown up in Chinatown, and also what his parents might have gone through, which obviously informs Ryan's character, right? And we had a lot of rehearsal time, script time with each other, and the script itself was so good. There was so much information in the script, about what Ryan says about himself, what other people say about Ryan, how he views other people in the world. All of that's information, and I just took a lot of notes. And then from there, I also kind of made up my own history and background that wasn't there to fill in the other lines and color in, the spaces. And yeah, the stereotypes are so corny and they're very overused. So anything that kind of came off as that or even gave me an inkling of that, I stayed away from. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to focus on what Ryan, the human being, was going through. So he's Asian, he's gay, lives in New York, is a fashion designer, which is all part of him, but it doesn't define who he is as a whole. But what else, right? So he has a lot of insecurity, self-hatred, resentment towards his parents, the world, and also himself. He's not happy with where he is professionally, and that's why he's so devoted to getting to that point. That's why he works so hard. He also um has to deal with his past, with bullying and not being accepted. All of these things I just mentioned, people can relate to no matter what gender, background, culture, you know, anything, sexuality. And now you have a human being, and you don't have a stereotype.
Yeah.
And like I said, the script was so good. It did most of the work for me.
Mhm. No, it's a really good script because I one of the things that I think is really special about this script is that yes, the story is about two men, one who is openly gay and one who is in the closet, which is Ning's cat, which is Ning, played by James Chen. And on the surface, the people they might say, okay, this film is about their sexual identity. But I think it's about more than that, like as you said, Ryan is more than his sexual identity. Is he's struggling with his connection to his culture, how he doesn't relate to Chinese culture, Chinese American culture because of his experiences in the past. Like he was bullied by other kids at like you would say like the language immersion school when he was younger, and like that made him step away from his culture, and like the film is really talking about how people who are gay, that's not just who they are. Like they have all of these other things going on in their lives that also inform who they are as people, right? And he's like he doesn't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, which his parents speak, because the trauma that he experienced as a young child while learning the language made him distance himself from that. It was like and it wasn't also that his parents didn't really understand him being gay, but there was also this whole other thing was like, but you're stepping away from our culture, you're stepping away from us. So that also informed who Ryan is as a person. And I find even like the choice to become a stylist in the fashion industry kind of works on that. And like, again, that's a stereotype. People say, oh, of course he's gay, so of course he works in fashion. I'm like, it kind of actually doesn't really have to do with him being gay. I kind of saw it as him being a stylist having to do with him putting on a persona, and him trying to dress other people so that they can help, so that they can project a persona that other people can perceive them as, like he's like, I'm so good at putting on personas. I'm so good at hiding that I'm going to help other people hide who they really are, and I thought it was an interesting choice for the character of Ryan. So talk to me about how culture actually is, I think, a bigger part of Ryan's identity than actually his sexuality, because I think on the surface, like that's how he and Ning actually start to butt heads. And it wasn't necessarily because he was gay, but it was because like he was like he didn't want to touch the crab. He's like watching all. I was like, first of all, how dare you eat the crab in its soy sauce the way it's meant to be eaten? But it's those little things, like those cultural. That's where their strife started from the culture rather than the sexual orientation.
Well, yeah, because Ryan doesn't have a problem with his sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
His internal battle is more cultural, right? And also based on the culture he was taught at home with his parents, and then that kind of clashed with what is being taught outside in America. And he meets Ning, and Ning is so proud culturally to be Chinese, and that's very shocking for Ryan because that's the opposite of what he's embraced and known. And that's where the growth happens for Ryan. Through Ning, he gets to really understand that there's beauty in being proud and Chinese, American, and Chinese. And now he gets to understand his parents a little better. The parents get to understand him a little better through Ning. And I think, yeah, so Ning is a very important, what is like a piece,
Catalyst.
catalyst, yeah. Like a connector, catalyst for Ryan. And he's like a bridge for Ryan and his parents. You know what I mean? And, going back to the thing about him being a fashion designer, maybe it is a stereotype, but also stereotypes come from somewhere real. Like there's a lot of gay fashion designers. That's just real. That's the reality. So it makes a lot of sense for story. And also, yeah, about putting on and taking off masks. Oftentimes fashion is a form of expression, but it's also a form of presenting a different self that you want to present, that you're comfortable presenting. I remember talking to during prep for this role, I interviewed a couple of people that I knew who worked in fashion, and one of them, he was actually a designer and gay and Korean American in New York. And he said, Jake, we wear all these clothes and the jewelry, the bangles, the earrings, and the necklaces because it's a way of hiding who you really are. And you want to be confident when you go on the world because it's hard. This world is hard. You need as much courage and confidence as you can every single day. He said, look at you. You don't have to do that. You have your tattoos. You have something else that you hide behind. Well, for me, it's clothes and jewelry and accessories. That's like my armor. It's armor. It just looks good.
It's true.
And I thought that was the most fascinating thing because I didn't really care or know too much about fashion and the fashion world before the movie. I truly didn't. I didn't care. I just wore hoodies and sweatpants and sneakers. I thought convenience was number one. But in fashion, convenience is overrated. That saying is even in the movie, in front cover, in the background. And I think Ryan being a designer is perfect. It serves a story. And that's what matters at the end of the day, the story.
It serves the story and helps the audience, I think about him and his situation in a different way. Because, for instance, again, like if he was a doctor, lawyer, let me guess, the armor would be like the white coat. But in this sense, like it helps, like how, because when he meets Ning, his job is to help Ning seem more attractive to American audiences. Like his thing is like, I want you to dress more North American, European, not particularly Asian, or I should say Ryan's idea of how Asian people would dress. Because let it be known when it comes to fashion, China is right there at the top, like their fashion spreads are amazing. They are pacing Vogue, I would say, but also like they have like their own, I don't remember the name, but they have their own version of Savile Row, like they're excel at bespoke suits and stuff. But Ryan was trying to make Ning fit in to the idea of what American audiences want when it comes to Asian people. Like he said, like Asian men are generally seen as sex symbols in North America, especially in the film and TV industry. And this film was made was released in 2015. And it's so funny how things have changed, where yes, Asian men have become extremely popular in North American media and films and TV shows. But guess what? They're not looked at as sex symbols, but on the offside of that, they're not really looked at as regarding their talent. The first thing, because I've been paying attention, like when the first thing anyone talks now about how hot an Asian actor is or how hot an Asian actress is, the first thing when they're talking about, the first thing they do is say how hot, how sexy, how attractive. And I'm like, why can't the first thing that you apply to them is how talented they are? Why can't you say like this person is an amazing actor, this person is an amazing filmmaker, director, writer? Why do you have or both?
Yeah, right.
Why, you can use it. You can say they're talented and hot. Why does it also have to be hot and talented?
Right.
I think that so like the flip side is that you end up being again perceive it as something not as a full person. It's still this one thing. You're hot now, okay? What else about them? Can you tell me anything else about them? So when I was watching and Ryan said that line, it was like things have changed, but then have they really?
Sure, it's the pendulum has swung all the way to the other side.
Yeah.
And it would be great to kind of be in this nice middle place. You know what I mean? Because like my white counterparts, those actors, they'll be called talented, hot, sexy, intelligent. You know what I mean? All in the same breath. And that's why when I choose roles and projects, it's me and my team, we talk. And there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. And then when I work, This is why the work is so important because sure, it can be hot. Anyone can be hot, but it's more important to be good, you know? Um, and hopefully with my whatever films coming out in the future, we can sort of kind of go to that middle ground where the pendulum swings here. So we are looked at as talented and hot and other things, right? Together in one breath.
Exactly. It's like recognize me for everything that I am instead of just this one thing. And in talking about recognition now, talk to me about working with James for the scenes with Ning and Ryan, because Ning and Ryan, they have a very interesting trajectory. They start out not as enemies, but they start out as they have a little bit of tension between them, and that tension again comes from the lack of cultural understanding between them, because Ning is so proudly Chinese, and he's like, I'm a Chinese actor, I'm very proud of this, takes him to a mahjong, a restaurant to eat like traditional food, and even makes a comment about how I'm like, I love this. I think it's probably my favorite line in the entire film, where like they go to a restaurant and Ryan is ordering French wine, and Ning is like, do you have whiskey? And and Ryan is like, this is a French restaurant, why would there be whiskey? And he's like, when people in China go to Szechuan restaurants, they order dim sum. And anyone who there that might fly under the radar for a lot of people, but I caught it because dim sum isn't traditionally shown made at Szechuan restaurants. Szechuan is a province and it has its own cultural dishes and stuff. So and he's talking about how when people of color, whether they're Chinese or whatever, always have to adapt to American tendencies. Particularly white American tendencies. He's like, we always got to compromise. We always got to adapt. And that's where Ryan starts to pay attention to what Ning is showing him. Ning is showing you, like, if you want to work with me, you need to understand me. I can't only just understand you and adapt to American to American audiences for them to accept me. You as the stylist need to understand me. So talk to me about working with James and Ray about figuring out the dynamic between them, because I honestly love that scene, and the scene where he's like, I'm pussy, man, but that's a whole different one.
Yeah.
But I love that scene in the restaurant particularly.
Oh, that was such a funny scene. And James goes, they make dim sum. You know what I mean? I love James. He's such a smart, present actor. And he's a hard worker, and he's very talented. And it was very fun to not just work with him, but go through the rehearsal process with him and Ray. Yeah, we rehearsed for about a week, like full days, 9 to 5. Workshopped a lot of scenes, a lot of moments, and just, traded ideas, questions, and that I think helped so much when we started filming, because it really helped the chemistry and the spark and the tension, because when they meet, sure, they're not enemies, but it's very contentious from the beginning, because even before Ryan and Ning meet, there's already opinions of each other, and they both didn't want to do this. So when we meet, it's already off to a bad start. And we didn't really necessarily shoot chronologically, so the rehearsal process helped a lot. Yeah. And James was such a great scene partner. He's very funny. We joked a lot on set, got to talk a lot, and we still keep in touch. And and Ray is such a great actor's director. We tried a lot of different things. He had a lot of good ideas, and we got to really just try different choices and play.
Yeah, that scene. There's I think, like, you both have such great chemistry, and and it feels natural, that the progression from the contention to the friendship to the understanding, then to the romance, and then to what happens in the end feels natural. The film isn't very long. I think it's just over an hour and a half, but like the progression of their arc feels very natural. And a lot of that has to do with how you guys play your characters. Like it feels very natural, you know, and like and it's credit to both of you and the both of you, and of course to Ray's directing and writing. Before I ask you about your next set of projects, I do want to talk a little bit about filming the intimate scenes, because again, this is a conversation that is now really people are really starting to pay attention to in Hollywood when it comes to like the talk of intimacy coordinators, or even we're getting people to realize the characters that these actors are playing are characters. They're not really having sex, you know. And I bring this up because there are people who, especially because there's like Interview with the Vampire, and like it's gotten so much attention now because it's again one of the very few shows where you have gay couples at the forefront of the story. But in watching social media, I find people still have this idea where they don't really understand how acting works and how filming intimate scenes work. So talk to me about working with James and Ray in filming that scene, and how, like you mentioned before that you did it before, like in like when you were like learning to be an actor and everything, but you had never really done it on scene before. So talk to me about that scene, because I think it's very important that people really get the actor's perspective of how filming intimate scenes works.
Man, you know, filming intimate scenes on screen is very technical. There's nothing, not nothing, but there's very little sexiness in that. It's very technical, and it's all down to business, because we're also fighting time, and we want to get the right shots. It's a lot of choreography. So yeah, when we got to the space, me and James were wearing our robes and our briefs, and Ray was there, and they closed a set, and a closed set means that anyone that doesn't need to be there is not there. So it's only like a couple of people, and the camera is right there, and the DP is there, and me, Ray, and James were talking about the different positions, and you know, he said, "Hey, so this is going to be very intimate and sensual, not sexual. I'm going to pick off shots. So what we're going to do is you guys are going to be having sex in one position, and you're going to be in it, and then cut will adjust to another position, and the camera will adjust accordingly to you guys too, and then we'll get that cut, and then that'll be it." So me and James, I mean, for like 2 weeks, me and him were nervous. We would talk to each other, you know, in the corner, like, "Man, are you ready? You ready to have sex?" You know, and we would just joke about it, but we were kind of anxious. And then when we got there, we rehearsed, took our clothes off. We had the modesty patches on our private areas, and we did it. And it took less than an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And when they said moving on, me and Jay looked at each other and we were like, "Wow, that's it? Are we done already? Because we have some more left in the tank." And Ray was like, "No, we got it. You know."
Yeah.
And I think, and you know, we didn't have any intimacy coordinators. That wasn't even an idea in anyone's mind back then. What helped a lot was that Ray was very also focused on getting a shot and making it very comfortable for both of us. He was very professional. Me and James were very professional. The DP, Una, she's super talented Korean woman. She was also very professional and focused on capturing the both of us in the most beautiful way possible. Some masculinity, some femininity, everything in between. Because at the end of the day, it's all for story. And I think we got it. And it was just a very easy process. But yeah, there's you know, most of the time, no one's really actually having sex. No, it's never really as you know, hot and heavy like real life. No, it's very technical. There's nothing sexual about it, you know. Even to the point where, like, if you're touching a boob, that's usually talked about. So when you see actors do that, everyone knows that's coming. You know, it's all planned and everything is talked and worked through. Usually.
Yeah, because I've had to talk about it on Twitter before. I'm like, you realize that this is filming a sex scene or a making scene on screen is one of the most unsexy things anyone could ever do. You know, like as you said, you're worried about time, but you're also worried about lighting, position, angle. You got to make sure like whoever's on set got to make sure they don't move so that it doesn't disrupt the sound and everything. And so that's one of the reasons I want to ask you, because I think it's important for people to really get to understand what filmmaking really is like for the actors. You know, and like, yes, you enjoy the characters, but you also, this is how you also learn to see the actors as actors and as human beings, you know. Don't look at them as the characters when you're walking down the street and like that's who you're seeing down the street is the actor, you know, that's not the character. Like that's the character, something you take on and put off. And so that's why I really wanted to ask you, because a lot of people, and I've been seeing so much, I'm like, are we getting back to the 80s, the days when people cussed out characters from Days of Our Lives? Because like Marlena is the actor playing Marlena is not Marlena. Okay, like get it straight. But I just think it's funny that we are going back into that mode of thinking now. You would think in 2024 people would realize, but they really don't. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important. So thank you for answering that. And so talk to me now about the projects that you're working on. Like before we began recording, you mentioned that you're traveling to Eastern Europe soon to go to Georgia to film. So talk to me a bit about that project. Let us know what you are up to.
Well, that hasn't been announced yet, and the deal isn't all the way closed yet. We're at the tail end of it. So I won't talk too much about it, but it is a really awesome military film drama. And Zachary Levi is leading it, and Liam Neeson is also attached to it. So that's all I'm going to say.
Will this be your first military type of role? Oh, yeah, because I'm thinking, like, oh, I don't know. Okay, yeah.
So I'm slowly growing my facial hair out and my hair. I'm keeping my hair length for now. Because for the film, because it's not one of those like clean cut military guys. It's more the special ops kind of guys. And I just got done filming a feature as a lead, kind of like front cover, called The Late Night Creep, and that's that's and that you can find that online, Deadline, whatnot, and that's exciting. It's a dark comedy, and it's heavily inspired by those like old 80s comedies like After Hours and Lady in Red and stuff like that. Very excited about that. I'm in every single scene, and it was a lot, but I'm so excited about that film. We got Leslie Jones and other people in it, so that hopefully that comes out sometime next year. And you got the military one, and we're also, working on closing the deal for an indie rom-com for the lead role. Yeah, but yeah, so that's maybe sometime end of this year too.
So those are all films. Are you looking to do any series, anytime soon? Because you've been doing, because I was looking at your IMDb, so like you've been doing things like FBI and the shows, and then also like there was Single Parents, which was hilarious. But are you ever thinking of going back into the series role again?
Yeah, I think so, because in the last calendar year, I've done, once the next 2 films are done, that'll be 4 movies back to back to back. I did a indie last November. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, that'll be 4. So I'm ready to go back to a series, find some consistency and some stability, make a little more money.
Yeah, like the industry's in a very weird place right now, where like and I don't know what to say about it, but like Hollywood has been she's in a strange place right now for, especially I guess for in the series, because it's like some of the series being made now are like prestige series, and I'm like, we need more series like Meet the Parents, like I'm Single Parents, and I'm like, come on, like give us some more of those just like funny like hearted comedies. I think there's very few of them. Like there's like Ghost, and then there's like Abbott Elementary, but we haven't really had anything like a Single Parents in a really long time. So I hope to see something like that where you get to play a more lighthearted character in the future. But thank you for taking the time to talk with me, Jake. This was really fun.
Thank you for talking to me, Carolyn. I can't believe I'm seeing you after all these years again.
I know, it's been so long. I was thinking about it. It was like, wow, 2018, the years have gone by very fast.
It's so good to see you.
You
And thank you for your
too.
wonderful comments.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to have James here, everyone, but James was filming, so he couldn't come. But I am very glad that I got Jake all to myself today.
Yes, yes. Yeah, forget James. He can go film.
We don't need James. All right, thanks. Bye, Jake. Have a good day. Have a good festival. I know it's exhausting and everything, but I hope you get to enjoy it.
Thank you. I will. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
So everyone, that was another episode of Carolyn Talks. And in this episode, I spoke to actor Jake Choi about his film Front Cover, which originally released in 2015 and is having a special feature screening at the 2024 New York Asian Film Festival. It was great to get to speak to Jake about his thoughts about not only making the film, but his leading up to making the film. You know, we spoke about the auditioning process, like what goes through an actor's mind between auditioning and callback, because which sometimes can be weeks and months. And so it was great to get his perspective on that. And then also, of course, playing the character of Ryan, working through playing a character like that who has all of these layers. And the film, yes, it's a gay romance, but it's more than that. You know, it's talking about culture. It's talking about understanding and acceptance of oneself and like how one deals with that. And so Jake did a great job, as well as his co-lead, James Chen, and of course, director Ray Yeung, who won a good number of awards for the film, not only for directing and best feature and audience awards, but also for writing. I think the script is really, really good. The script is really nuanced and it's very layered, and like there's so many things in there for people to pay attention to if they pay attention to them, you know, and not just focus on on the romance. Like there's a lot of references there with regards to North American culture, but also like Chinese culture, and then just like talking about how parents and children can have misunderstandings and how you grow to understand that. So it was great to have Jake to talk about those things about the film. And of course, you'll find this and other interviews for the New York Asian Film Festival in video format on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Carolyn_Hines. You can go to my R3 page, that's authoroy.com/Carolyn Hines, and find links for the YouTube videos, the podcast, all of my written published work, op-eds, reviews, work that I do for a K-Crush American magazine. So that's kcrush.com for the coverage that I've been doing for Asian-centered film festivals, such as the Short Shorts Film Festival and Asia, which was held in Shibuya, Japan this past June, the Jeonju International Film Festival, which was held in Jeonju, South Korea in May, and other interviews that I've done previously. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Carrie, CNH12, CARRIE, CNH12. And am I missing anything? Oh, you can also, if you want to, you can look for the hashtags Carolyn Talks or SHWH, which stands for Here's What Happened, to look on my feeds and on social media to see links for things if you're looking for them specifically, or to comment if you would like to. And until the next episode of Carolyn Talks, everyone, stay safe. Bye.